Welcome to everyone from Still and Moving Center's Gems from the Wisdom Tradition, a conversation circle. We have been drawing from all of the different traditions of the world, old and somewhat newer, to extract the essence, even as the bee gathers honey. And today we're very fortunate to have with us someone who is going to be speaking from the perspective of Nia. Nia technique is a body, mind, spirit practice that was developed by the person who's going to be speaking with us, Debbie Rosas, and also Carlos Rosas, in the early 1980s, and it drew from a number of inspirational sources in its founding and continues to refresh itself continually by the many inspirations that it draws from. The topic for this week is right action, which comes originally as a part of the Buddhist Eightfold Path. And yet, right action is something that is so relevant to each of us in our everyday lives that certainly we can approach this idea of right action from any number of perspectives. The experience that I have had with Debbie Rosas from the Nia tradition, the Nia perspective, has really informed me personally on the path of right action. I feel as if I am more grounded physically. I feel as if I have a lot more ability to converse easily with my emotions and listen when I need to and just let them pass through. And other occasions, I feel as though I have cultivated a thinking mind. And also, I feel as if, in particular, in regard to this topic of right action, I've learned to listen to my intuition. And that has largely been encouraged by all of the teachings that I have received, taking training after training after training from Debbie Rosas. Someone who's highly intuitive, someone who also is a great compassionator, and someone whose mission it is to raise the vibration of humanity. Tall order, and she's doing it. Let me begin by quoting from you in this week's Still a Moving Center Almanac, from Debbie Rosas herself. Right action and choice is sensed as harmonious, balanced, graceful, strong, powerful, and sacred. It radiates like the sun. The afterglow of right action and choice is one of contentment, satiation, and security. And with that, I give you Debbie Rosas.
I love it. I love it. Well, when you talk about right action, the word right itself comes along with there's religious right action, family right action, social right action. It is like the rays of the sun. What right action are we really talking about? What I want to talk about really is a right action that is sensed. And that sensation can be directed to discovering right action in relationship with oneself or with another, with the universe, with one topic. But when we talk about the sensation of right action, we have to first start with the body, the physical body. And a lot of people can conceptualize and analyze about what right action means. But right action is something that we sense in our body. when we approach our body and life with right action in relationship to health, we are healthier. When we approach our body and life and we look at love, we become healthier. If love is important to a physical right action, it's proven we become healthier. Right action mentally means cleaning up one's thoughts, one's beliefs, one's attitudes. All of those things affect our thinking mind. And then there is the past history that affects us on a very unconscious level that we don't even know about it, but it's there. And to have right action in mind and to approach the mind as a separate body, that you want to make sure that you take care of it, that it's healthy and well, that it has right alignment, then we have to look at the design and function of our anatomy. That's also a right alignment. That brings us into thinking more about the science of the design that we live in for right action and right alignment. So we can simplify it and say, if I want to be in right action with my feet, then that means that I need to understand the anatomy of my feet, the design, and I need to then live through that design, live with that design, cooperate with that design so that I can reach the potential. Right action will always take me towards my highest potential. I could do the same thing with any part of the body. What do lungs love? They love to fill and empty. So that if I'm not breathing deeply, then I'm not in relationship with the design and function. I can't reach the potential or the highest level of health and well-being for my body and also for me who lives in relationship with my body in that body. I think the mind is the most challenging when we talk about right action. The mind is something that's influenced. We take in information and we grow our brain. The information that we take in, you can see it in someone's body. You can hear it in the tone of their voice. You can hear it in what they say and what they speak, because it's reflecting their thoughts. Now, thoughts are fleeting. They're not very deep. An attitude's a little deeper. An attitude has a little stronger hold on you. You have a deeper relationship with it. You're going to hang on to it a little bit more. There's more ownership of it. Oh, that's mine. But beliefs are very, very deep rooted. And that's why sometimes unconsciously we can be carrying a belief and we don't even know it. And yet our mind, our choices, they are being affected by what we think, our attitude, and our belief. Again, beliefs are very, very deeply rooted. And this is an opportunity in our lifetime when we think about right alignment bringing, recalibrating ourselves, recalibrating how we live in our body, how we think, and also recalibrating our emotional essence, our emotional being, so that we can become responsive emotionally. We are feeling beings. We can be affected by emotions, because that's how we personalize a relationship with anything that's going on in life, is to show up emotionally and have an opinion and be affected. But yet, to not be run around by the emotions. To recognize the emotion brings us into right alignment with what's important and meaningful to us. What matters to us? Those are those little emotional signals. And when we pay attention to them and we sense it bringing us into right alignment, it's not that we use the emotion to act out, but we use the emotion to bring ourselves into an alignment where we can be a better human being. We can recalibrate our life, our choices, decisions, and we can bring about health and well-being, not only for ourselves, but the people around us and the world. Everything we do, what I say in Nia is everything we do matters. Small things make a huge difference. And you know, that place of Satchitananda or absolute bliss, that place, when do we arrive to that? When we are connected to all things, when we realize the right alignment and rightness of everything that is happening in the now. And when we take the time to rise our thinking up from being a base chakra thinking or even a seventh chakra thinking up into more of a cosmic divine mind, where we can see the potent purpose of everything that's happening right now to bring humanity into right alignment. The where we are right now in the world is raising the frequency. We are being affected not only by the right alignment that the earth is attempting to achieve, but also what the universe and humanity is attempting to achieve. So we're being deeply affected. If you can think about turning up the volume to the highest volume on your radio, think about quadrupling it, because that's kind of the vibration of volume that we're being affected by right now. And so the spiritual component that we're caught in right now of right alignment is one that is universal and world. It's humanitarian. It's bigger than any one individual. So we're in a we realignment. And for individuals that do not connect in any way to the we, or resist the we, or resist the connection, they're having a big struggle. And but the individuals that are really seeing that it's not just about me and not just about the other, right, the two-way exchange, but the multidimensional exchange of the we of the entire universe. And that is asking that we do our inner work, because there is our inner world, as we do our inner work and bring that into right alignment, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, that we create a resonance that the universe understands. The universe and the earth are seeking this right alignment, this resonance of balance and harmony. So the unrest that we're experiencing is creating a heightened sensitivity in all of us. So the right alignment that we're seeking is coming from heightened sensitivity to physical things. We feel things more. Heightened sensitivity to mental things. We're thinking. We're having opinions more. We're strategizing. We're analyzing. Those people that are seeking are educating themselves, getting more books. What's that mean? How's this happening? And then emotionally, feeling ourselves into life now. We're feeling ourselves into life. It's not just thinking about life, but feeling ourselves into life. And the frequency that we're experiencing is really just a signal. It's a signal of dimensionality. It's a signal of transformation. The humanity is going through a big identity shift. And all of us are going through a big identity shift at the moment. It's beyond the experiential age. And it's really we're in a transformational age, and it's affecting us on a personal level and social level, on a collective subconscious level as well. So how do we recalibrate and get ourselves into right alignment? We re-stretch ourselves. Okay, we think we can go here. We come back and we re-stretch further. When you think you can't do it, I don't know about you, but I feel like I'm doing more than I ever have, handling more than I ever have, working harder than I ever have. And I just take a breath and I go, come on, you can do this. You got to stretch a little bit further. Refortify myself. How do I do that? I have to really understand what taking care of to recalibrate and realign. Maybe that's an extra bath. Maybe that is putting lemon in my water. Maybe it's calling 3 friends that I haven't talked to every single week. Somehow I've got to refortify myself. And what I say that is I have to refortify myself. Instead of relying on people around me to give me a hug or do things for me, my staff is down to almost nothing. So I'm like, I am doing so much. So the recalibrating of the I has been really important. Avoid resisting. The resisting just creates the contraction. It's there. Don't resist it. step into it, communicate with it. So what does a right alignment in a sense mean? It means cooperating with and aligning with and taking in and not suppressing, but also do no harm. So, I was in Portland. We have a tremendous amount of action going on around Black Lives Matter. And so it's important not to get caught up in the collective of the chaos, but also not to repress my emotions and to, in any way that I can, express that, writing poetry, writing a letter about it, praying, all of those things that I know that I can do that will let me dissolve into what's happening and also evolve. So dissolve and also evolve. Um, when you talk about intuition, um, the thing that I love about intuition is it's sort of like living in between the frequency of I know and I hope. And then there's this in between. And that's that intuition of letting myself kind of play in that sandbox. And when I do that, I feel like I'm functioning more with, instead of the language of humanity, more with the music of the universe. It's sort of like I can hear it, but I have to consciously tap into that vibrational world that is outside of me, but in a sense, I can tap into the waves of information. Right alignment again, looking at my body. I want to have full presence to any moment to be in right alignment, not half in and half out. I want to commune with every moment through all of my senses. I can't not want to see. I've got to have my sight to see, smell, taste, hearing, touch, all of my senses activated. No matter what's going on, to be in right alignment, I have to come from my heart, from love, from empathy, and I can think about what I might do, but then I have to think about, but what about the world? What about the universe? So the I, you, and the we. I've got to transition my thinking to be into right alignment. Perfect health means tracking the sensation of I feel good every day and I feel vital and I have energy and I feel like I'm giving my body exactly what it needs. So that means having a right alignment relationship with my body by listening. Having a direct experience, not talking about what ifs, but really living as a sensation scientist and perceiving my body as a laboratory and doing my research to experience through the felt sense, the direct experience. What do I know to be true and real for my body and life right now? Because I know what it was last year, but what is it now? So that's very important for me for right alignment. Also, really using this time to be generous. Be generous when we're in a situation where people are afraid they're not going to have enough, not going to have enough food, they're not going to have enough money, they're not going to have enough time, they're not going to have enough space. And within that, to create that balance and alchemy, we say as above, so below, or working with polarities. And so, and with that fear of not enough, then it's the perfect time to be generous. What can I give? Is it $1? Is it $5? Is it getting groceries for somebody? And, you know, really, really living the joy of movement, that my body likes to move no matter what's going on in the universe with, the riots 4 blocks from my office, whatever. My body likes to move. So really using the opportunity to move, getting up and down from the floor, being physical, doing things that maybe I wouldn't normally do, like more yard work. Recognizing that the ultra sensitivity that I'm feeling right now is normal, because the if you can imagine the membrane around the earth, or the membrane around the universe is vibrating and it's thinning. So the universe and the earth, we're all feeling so much. We're all so much more sensitive. so that you can avoid getting into there's something wrong with me. How come I'm crying? What's wrong with me? And being in gratitude. You know, when I want to get in right alignment, it's like I've just got to drop into gratitude, say, thank you, God, thank you for everything that I have. And being responsive to the moment, responsive to the now. So whatever shows up, I've got to be responsive to it. That has taken a little getting used to in terms of right alignment. I feel like I've gotten stronger. My ability to sustain doing something has gotten better. I'm being asked to sustain my responsiveness and my action of doing for longer periods of time than I'm used to. I'm used to having more time out. I'm used to having more rest in between, or that's what I thought. I don't have that anymore. So it's sustaining and riding the wave. Managing my exhaustion, really looking at that, recognizing that if I have tension, I've got to have a release, and that could be screaming into a pillow or laughing for 60 seconds. Taking more time to touch. I bought myself some extra stuffed animals and hugging. I don't have pets. I can't see my kids. It's my husband and I. So I'll get in bed and I'll hug my big bear. And it works. I feel like I'm getting into some sort of right alignment. Continuing to vision as often as I can turn on the news or I can hear people talk about how horrible it is. And it's got, okay, great. I'm not doing that. I'm going to use my mind to vision the ideal of what I want the world to be. That makes me feel like I'm in right alignment. Doing as much pleasure work as I can. Really catching myself when I feel like I want to get distracted. It's like, why? Really watching myself. Why do I want to distract myself from something? Taking tremendous responsibility, not projecting or blaming anybody for anything. And particularly around certain topics, for example, Black Lives Matter, and having the community or people on Facebook want to shame or guilt somebody or blame somebody. And I just won't go there. It's like, that's not that's not what I'm going to do. It's not healthy for the human body. It's not healthy for the individual. This is deep personal work. And recognizing when I'm in overwhelm. That's a really important. I hit it today and I went, whoa. And I got up and I just got down on the floor and I did the 5 stages of self-healing. So those are some of my right alignment tips. I hope it helps.
Amazing, Debbie. I just took 5 pages of notes.
That's good. You can send it back to me because I don't track it. It's just in my head.
I loved when you talked about, for this idea of aligning to right action, going beyond even the language of humanity to tapping into the music of the universe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just how that would put us into beautiful alignment with the earth, with everyone on the earth, people, and I know you care so much about all the living beings on earth. And
I think that's why we do a practice. Whether it's yoga, whether you do Nia, whether you paint, or whether you play an instrument, there are those moments when we hit what they call the lost chord, and that's that thing that you can't describe. It's it that keeps you coming back to doing what you're doing. And I think that is when we hit that place where we're hearing it, we're feeling that universal message.
Let me open the floor to other people's personal experience, wisdom, questions for Debbie to go a little deeper into some aspect of the many things that she mentioned that would be helpful for right action.
I wonder if you could just expound for a moment on the notion of the lost chord. I've heard that expression, but there's something behind it that I don't rock.
Yeah, it's a statement that I was introduced to from a gentleman that I studied with about sound healing, Don Campbell. It's that when there's a tone or a pitch of the universe that we all seek. So there's a theory, for example, that we all have what they call a primordial sound. And that sound is determined, the tone and pitch of it, which is what the tonotopic map in our brain maps. And that's why when our brain maps that tone and pitch, we recognize it, we're drawn toward it. So the idea is that there is a lost chord, this chord that we have forgotten that is there. Call it a God chord. It's something that when you hear it, or when you make that sound, you're riveted and generally brought into deep weeping and some kind of cathartic, crying, but it's got a deep guttural sound to it, and it's realigning oneself to the chord. So to find your primordial sound, basically take the where you were born, the longitude and latitude lines, the time, and all of those things have vibration and frequency. And when they align those vibration and frequencies up, they get a tone, and they say that's your tone. So that when you find your lost chord and you begin to cry, for example, if you've ever had the experience, you'll hit a certain pitch or tone, and it's like the gates just open up. That is one description of it, and there are several others. But if you type in lost chord, you're going to get all kinds of information in Google. And I think that's why sounding is so important in NIA. We use our voice, we sound, so that people can begin to, first of all, blend body and breath. But we use, for example, the sounds of the chakras. Sound for the first chakra, ooh for the second chakra, oh for the third chakra, ah for the fourth, I for the fifth, A for the sixth, and E for the seventh. And we use those sounds to tone, to also kind of bring, in a sense, our energy body in alignment with our physical body.
I love that you said you watch the news, or you take in the news, and then you use your or make room that you can use your imagination to envision a better future. I often think about how we need a practice of imagination. We're not using the same mental capacities to address a problem to fix it. We just get in a quagmire. But if we use our imagination. So I'm just thinking about different practices of opening up the imagination. Mm-hmm. I love that you said that.
So in the practice of manifesting, mm-hmm. The practice is to write down what you desire. So what I desire is a healed and healthy and whole world with excellent leadership, by the way. And so I write down that desire, and then the next process is to look at your thoughts, your attitudes, and beliefs around that desire. So 3 different pieces of paper. So I write down my thoughts, because all of that, the thoughts, attitudes, and beliefs, they get in the way of the image that you want to hold, the mental construct. That's how we change the realities through mental construct. And so I write down my thoughts and my attitudes and beliefs around that. So a thought may be, it's not going to happen. An attitude may be, it's going to take too long. A belief may be, who am I to think that I could create a change? So you just keep writing. And then you begin to clean up your thoughts. Is that true? No, right? And you clean up your attitudes, you clean up your beliefs. And then you live your life, you go about living your life, acting as if it's happening. It's almost like somebody could say, gee, Renee, how are you? Great, I'm getting ready. What are you getting ready for? Oh, I'm going on vacation. Because she's manifesting in her mind that she's going to go on vacation. Somebody could say to me, how are you doing, Debbie? What are you doing? Oh, I'm getting ready to go see my kids. And they go, well, it's COVID. I go, oh yeah, but I'm getting ready, because I want to hold that image of me getting on the plane and going, seeing them and running and hugging them. And so that's where I'm going to hold the mental grid. And that takes the most energy, and it takes the most practice to just keep holding that grid, and what we say, acting as if it's already happened, and sustaining that. And so it's no big deal to imagine something. You can do it, right? You can think something, you can imagine it, but to hold the grid long enough for it actually to be manifested in third dimension, that takes work.
Thank you for unpacking that. That was great. Thank you.
First and foremost, I'm just so giddy and so excited to see Debbie on my screen right now. Aloha and welcome to our awesome international and Hawaii community. You know, it gets me thinking about energy schedule a lot. I'm a pretty calendar driven type of person. It works quite well and it brings sanity to my personal and professional life. And with all these shifts and the higher vibrations that are around us, and I took note of what you said about ultra sensitivity and then how to learn to manage the exhaustion, it makes me think about how many things I miss or how many things I can't get to that I feel are in service to my right action and my right path or in alignment with things I want to do. And then I'm reminded to go into the body and to sense through my body to know that if there's something that gravitationally is pulling me or forcing me to one direction, and if that means taking an extra nap, I'm gonna have to do this right now for myself. Mm-hmm. And this is what's gonna help me in my process to recalibrate so that when I am in that act of giving, I'm almost giving way more than 100% now. I feel that. And it's just very affirming, and I really appreciate hearing that from a leader like you and somebody who truly practices the practice, and that I'm very proud to share the work that we're all in this space together right now. Mm-hmm. And we're all experiencing where's my right path and am I on it? But I really just enjoy and have always enjoyed this about my personal practice with Nia, my relationship with growing with Nia, is that the body doesn't lie. And it really will tell me, okay, mentally you want to go there, but physically something's holding you back, and that's a force, and I respect it. I think it's very sacred. It just really gets me thinking about that, and it makes me feel better.
You know, you bring up something important, and that is that the energy frequency of matter is supported by the energy frequency of consciousness. It has to match. So the consciousness and the matter, when they match, right? That's why I say everything matters. When the consciousness and the matter match in terms of frequency, then we get more of a holism. But if we have a split where the body says, I'm tired, and the consciousness says, okay, come on, we're going to keep going, then there's a split in the working together. And a linear mind will do that. A linear mind will say, oh, come on, let's keep going. But what I call a cosmic mind or a fluid mind or the heart mind, you know, I think that, bring down, now think from your heart and what's your answer. You're going to get a little bit of a different answer. And yeah, that's cool that you're sensitive to that.
Hi, Debbie. I did my white belt with you in Honolulu 2015. It was so great.
Hi.
And I loved the meditations that you would do at the end. So it was very great for me to see you doing these recent meditations, which I've tried to tune into. Not as many as I'd like, but I did tune into one you did the other day, which was sound-based. So it was, you were talking about what you were, the primordial sound, and that just made so much sense to me, because I've always been really attracted to sound and sound healing, and I got trained on Tibetan singing bowls and have introduced that to a lot of people who really had no idea, you know, had really experienced that. So that's really, you know, I just find that sound, you know, and going inward, I don't know, I mean, there's a lot of ways, a lot of things to explore, you know, going inward, especially with sound and tuning into all different frequencies. And so again, so much more to learn. So I was interested in the person that you mentioned. Did you say Don Campbell? Because I need to
Dr. Don Campbell.
He's more and understand more about
his work is beautiful. Yeah. Well, you know, there's also a book called Nada Brahma, and the word means everything is sound. And I can remember when I read that, I thought, what? So that was years ago, and I started to explore, is that true? And that kind of got me into a little more exploration of physics and vibration, etc. But everything is sound, meaning it has a vibration. When we make sound, we are, in a sense, balancing the internal volume and space and pressure of the internal body with what's on the external. And right now, there's a tremendous amount of external pressure, a lot of sound, people sounding what they think, what they believe, who's right, who's wrong, anger, joy, whatever. All of that we have to manage through our breath. And one of the ways that we can actually help ourselves to balance the internal volume and space with the pressure outside is by making sound. That's what we do as a baby the moment we're born. Sound is actually the first vibration that we recognize. Even in utero, we're hearing, we're aware of vibration and sound. Then we come out, we make our sound, and we hear ourselves, and then we begin to hear other things. So it's a very important part on the vibrational field is our sound and making sound.
Debbie, how do you know when you're not engaged in right action? Ways. It could be not doing something we should be doing, and it could be doing something.
The message is so clear for me. It's what I can say is I know I'm lying. I'm downright lying. Or that feeling that you would get if you did something bad, or if you were stealing something, or if you hurt somebody. It feels exactly that way to me because I'm hurting myself. I'm robbing my spirit and soul from being truthful. It's so clear. I can't do it, actually. I can't. And that means even if I'm the one that loses out, it's like, too bad. That's just the way it is. It's because we're talking about, the law of physics. We're talking about forces. You can't force a bone or joint. You can't force something to be true when it's not true. So my breathing immediately lets me know that I'm not in right alignment. I'm holding my breath, or my breath is shallow. My thoughts aren't fluid. My thoughts, I'm grabbing onto things, and I'm wanting to hold a thought and put it in a certain cage so it doesn't go anywhere else except where I put it. Well, that's not right alignment, because right alignment has flow. Right alignment is always in service of the now and the moment, and its message is just like what doctors fight for, and what they agree: do no harm. And that's what right alignment, when you talk about the universe, is do no harm. I don't sleep well when I have been in a day of wrong alignment. I don't sleep well. Things feel like there's a lot of effort. When I'm not in right alignment, there's a lot of effort. It's hard, and when it's in right alignment, it just goes.
I would have a piggyback question off of that. So if you may experience a troubled night and you knew that the previous day was not a day of right alignment, what could be a good practice to find yourself getting in a better place if you have to repeat that process because you're committed to it at that point?
3 steps, and these are 3 steps that are also associated with manifesting, because oftentimes when you start writing down your thoughts, attitudes, and beliefs, what happens is, I'm not good enough, I don't deserve it. The first thing is, whenever you've gotten out of alignment, or you've said something, you've done something that you want to redo, you recognize it and you write it down. What did I do? You recognize it. You acknowledge it. Just acknowledge it. That means feel it emotionally. Oh my God, I did that. I said that. Then forgive yourself. Recognize, acknowledge, forgive. And then the last thing is then change it. What does that mean? Oh, I didn't mean that. Oh, I'm sorry. Can I have a redo? So recognize, acknowledge, forgive, and change. And those work really, really well. And you get fast at it. And you get faster at it of recognizing, oh man, and moving a little faster.
I'd like to ask a couple people. Fariba Entashari is very deeply engaged in, schooled in the tradition of the Sufi mystic Rumi. And I wonder if from that perspective, Fariba might have something to share with us on right action.
Hi everybody. Hi Debbie, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For sure, the whole alignment with our inner state and being in touch is very much the word that Rumi wanted to introduce to us. That the whole world basically for Rumi has something to do with our inner state. And the whole world is actually the reflection of our inner state. So in Jahan Ku Hasto Vele Tu Neda, these in Farsi, in the language he wrote the poetry, these universe is the mountain and your actions are the echo. So it's basically as a co-creator. And I love what you mentioned about the manifestation. We are the co-creator. I mean, the meaning of being the crown of the creation has something to do with our ability to be able to manifest the inner and outer world, and also taking responsibility for it. For Rumi, love is the position of Adam in his poetry that, God asked, I just absolutely madly in love with the logic of this story that God asked Satan, did I not tell you to not teach them to take the fruit of knowledge? And Satan is very clever and tells God, basically speaks back to him and said, well, is it not that everything is within your forte? And God says yes, and say, why you knew I will do it? Why you didn't stop me? So go blame yourself. Whereas God asked Adam, did I not tell you? Don't go close to the tree of knowledge and take the fruit of it. And Adam, out of love and respect, and this is a word of Farsi heibat, is when we shake with love in front of a majesty or someone that we love. So Adam had this position. Adam is in love. Therefore, Adam said, I'm sorry, I made a mistake. So Adam takes responsibility, whereas Satan doesn't take responsibility. So the whole poetry comes from this position that we are a creation and a co-creator of God. And we take responsibility for what we think. And I love all these complex layers that you just so simply alter to us. It is complex. And at the same time, when we are in the flow, it's not. Right. So thank you. Thank you so much.
It's beautiful.
Could I also ask someone who's spoken to us several times from the ancient Greek tradition, Jim Tepfer. Let's see, is he still here? Oh, I think I just lost him. Okay, that's all right. Somebody else, another question. How do you find right action for yourself, and how do you know when you're not in alignment with it? How does it work for each of you?
Well, I'd like to ask a question.
Okay.
Thank you, Debbie, so much for being here. It's really been lovely hearing this whole conversation. Now, you mentioned earlier something about like between I know and I hope, that sort of intuition sort of resides in that space. And I would love to just hear you talk a little bit more about intuition. Just because, I mean, I think it's something that definitely, I think takes practice. But I think that it's something that, like it's so easy to get pulled by so many different voices. So I'd love to just hear more about intuition.
When I was 5, I was crossing the street with my mother, and I turned to her and I said, Mom, that lady's going to get hit by a car. And the lady got hit by a car. And my mother turned around and took my hands and she bent down. My mother was from London. And she said, oh dear, how wonderful, you're Fae, which means clairvoyant on some level. And had she responded in a different way, I don't think I ever would have developed my intuition like I have. And she made it sound like a gift, like it was a talent that I had, and that it was wonderful. And so she would ask me, did you get an, even as a 5-year-old, can you imagine mother saying, did you get anything intuitively today? So she would ask me. Because she was asking me, I was looking for it. I was waiting for it. I was listening for it. So I think the first thing is to, first of all, decide that you want to have a relationship with your intuition. And then realize I'm starting out, I don't think I know anything, but you do, because it's a natural part of every human being. And then you have to kind of, what they do is offset your thinking mind. So you're going to be thinking about something because that's how you're trained. And then you can think about it and then say, okay, now I'm going to go into my intuition and see what comes about this thing that I just thought about. And I find it easy when I'm working with my intuition to do stream of consciousness writing or even talk into my telephone and just close my eyes and just ramble. And don't judge it, you know, and then play it back and listen and see if I get any information. So that is a technique that I use a lot. I've also learned to make an agreement with my intuition. It used to be that I had to get a message 3 times before I paid attention. Now I pay attention most of the time. The first time I get the intuitive message to don't go, stop, call that person, do it this way. I pretty much am really good at responding. Today was a perfect example of me not listening. I'm driving and my voice said, the key's not going to work in the door. And I blew it off. And I get down to my office and I go to put the key in the door, and I had a time schedule. I had a meeting that I had to do. Put the key in the door, couldn't get the door open. I ended up calling my husband and saying, can you call the building manager? I could have avoided all of that by just hearing the message, then saying to my husband that I'm going to have trouble with the door. Can you come and open it for me? Or can I have your key? So I have 2 keys, you know? So it is a practice, as you say, it is a practice. And I find it best to create a relationship with it, know that it's a part of you, make a choice to want to spend time with it, just like you want to beef up a bicep, you're going to beef up your intuition. And then when you think about things, stop and say, got that message, now I'm going to intuit and see what the message comes from. I hope that helps. There's also a beautiful book that I love. It's called Frequency, The Power of Personal Vibration by Penny Pierce. And she's wonderful about vibration, frequency, intuition, resonance. I think you might enjoy that book. Yeah, I'll say it again. It's called Frequency, The Power of Personal Vibration by Penny Pierce, P-E-I-R-C-E. She's written other books. She wrote a book called The Intuitive Way, which you'll like as well. Yeah.
You know, there's something in government, like our democratic government, called checks and balances.
Yeah.
And, so I feel that sometimes there may be a concern that if we pay too much attention to intuition, we could just be picking up stuff from all over the universe and get pulled every which way. Which actually Janine mentioned in her question to you. And yet I feel as though when I listen to you speak, you've got so many checks and balances. You're waiting to see, how does this, well, you don't necessarily wait, but I mean, you're always very in tune with the mind as well. What is my rational mind saying? What is my gut tell me? Just tuning into my body. The higher,
Yeah, you kind of have to have spent time with all those parts of yourself to know, is that gut thinking? Is it left brain thinking? Is it right brain thinking? Is it my spirit? Is it my soul? It's like managing a lot of kids, and they all want your attention, and they all have a personality. Now, the thing about intuition, we are not trained to use intuition. We're trained and we get paid for logic. And yet, if you look at the arts or you look at sports, um, musicians, artists, and sports people function a lot on intuition. They physically train their body to respond, but when they're out on the field, they don't have time to think. If they do, they're going to miss it. So they're very much in an intuitive mode. Sports is beautiful for that. And so is art. And so is music. Even though there's a logic to it, it's more of an intuition that is going to end up creating, I wanted it to be blue, or I thought it should be a C sharp. That's coming from a different place. And that's why the arts are so important. And when they take away the arts from school, unfortunately, we really inhibit a child's intuitive and other aspects of their brain functioning. We take a lot of intelligence away. Right alignment.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So learning to know and be able to identify those different voices within us, because we are composite beings.
Right.
That exist on many levels.
Yeah. So, I say spend a day with your intuition, or I'll say spend a day with your base chakra, get to know it. Spend a day with your heart chakra, get to know it. Spend time with it. And so that you could recognize it as a vibration, you recognize its voice, you could recognize it when it shows up or when it's not there. Mm-hmm.
And what do you do when the intuition isn't there, especially as somebody who's a creative?
That's when it's kind of funny. I have a good relationship with God, and, but that's when I go, I give it up and I go, okay, it's all yours. It's all yours. I'm in service. What should I do? And I intuitively then sense what God is telling me to do, or I rationalize that that's what's happening, and then I feel really good about it.
Mary Bird, do you relate to that?
Very much so. I loved what you had to say about gratitude, because that is so important.
Yeah.
We are gifted with so many things and we don't understand what we've got. We take things for granted, and then when we are given the opportunity to recognize what we have, and we should just say thank you. And so I'm really in tune with you that way. And the other thing that I loved was about singing and sound, because I am so moved when I hear Oli, Hawaiian chanting.
Uh-huh.
I love the Buddhist Om, the different chants that they do. It just touches, like you said, it touches something. And the Gregorian chants.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's in every culture.
Yeah.
It's not specific to one religion or one way of thinking. It's universal, and if we can recognize that and accept it, then we're just going to be better off for it. Our lives will be so much better. Mm-hmm. Amen.
Amen.
Oh, perfect.
I was wondering, hi Debbie, chanting. I listen to a lot of chant and like to sound. So I read the book Breath, the breathing. There's a new book out. And then I learned there that we are all breathing in too much and not breathing out.
Yes, yes.
And I focus right now on that, like breathing out more and doing less breathing in a minute. So yeah, this is kind of balancing me right now.
Yeah, lengthening the exhale, it's that sighing, and not cutting your exhale off. I notice sometimes when I work with people sounding, they'll sound and then they get a little shy, like maybe I'm sounding too long or maybe it's too loud, but just really letting your body empty and say, okay, I'm finished. Yeah, it's a good one. That's a great reminder. Thank you.
Yeah.
You have just a couple more minutes. This is your chance.
I was going to say something about somebody who can be intuitive very naturally. All I do is just to have the intention that I will receive the message, and I am the chalice of the messages that I should put in action.
Yeah.
And I'm always amazed because I don't put the specific, purposeful mind on it. And Debbie, you make me think I should do some of these practices you mentioned. I'm sure they are very good to make me a better chalice, but all I did is like a lazy Sufi. All I did is like saying, okay, I just trust. I align myself this way. I just trust
Right.
that the right action is revealed to me for me to take. And that has worked.
That sounds like a good plan. Sounds like you're in the right path. Oh, well, thank you, Renee. This has been absolutely wonderful. I love sharing what I love, which is the body and life. So thank you all very much for taking the time out to join. I give you my big hug. Yeah. And my aloha from Portland. Yeah.
Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you.
Blessings and love
So
to you.
much.
Thank you.
Wear the mask, wash your hands, all that good stuff.
Get a big teddy bear. That's what I'm getting.
Yeah.
And keep moving.
For sure. All right.
Thank you.
Oh, and
Thank
I'd
you,
like
Renee.
Thank you
Bye,
all.
everybody.
Enjoy
Thank you.
each other.
As we
Thank
do right now. Thank you.
All righty. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
I'd like to remind everyone else that next week we have the topic of, are we our brothers and sisters keepers? And that's going to be taken up by someone who's going to speak from the mystic Christian tradition. She's been with us today, Katharine Harts. She's a teacher at Still and Living Center, and she is a reverend who has had her own congregation for many years. So Katharine Harts will be just a beautiful presenter for us on that tradition. Thank you all so very much, and we'll see you next week or anytime after that.